Ezekiel Chapter 37. The hand of Jehovah came upon me, and he brought me out in the Spirit of Jehovah and set me down in the midst of the valley, and it was full of bones. And he caused me to pass all around among them, and there were very many on the surface of the valley, and they were also very dry. And he said to me, Son of man, can these bones live? And I answered, O Lord Jehovah, you know. Then he said to me, Prophesy over these bones, and say to them, O dry bones, hear the word of Jehovah. Thus says the Lord Jehovah to these bones, I will cause breath to enter into you, and you shall live. And I will put sinews on you and bring flesh back on you and cover you with skin and put breath in you, and you shall live, and you will know that I am Jehovah. So I prophesied as I was commanded. And as I prophesied, there was a noise, and suddenly, a rattling, and the bones came together, bone to its bone. And I looked, and there were sinews on them, and flesh came back, and skin covered them over, but there was no breath in them. Then he said to me, Prophesy to the wind, prophesy, Son of man, and say to the wind, Thus says the Lord Jehovah, Come from the four winds, O breath, and breathe on these slain, that they may live. So I prophesied as he commanded me, and the breath came into them, and they lived and stood up upon their feet, an exceedingly great army. Then he said to me, Son of man, these bones are the whole house of Israel. Now they say, Our bones are dried up, and our hope is lost, we are cut off completely. Therefore prophesy, and say to them, Thus says the Lord Jehovah, Now I will open your graves and cause you to come up out of your graves, O my people, and I will bring you into the land of Israel. And you will know that I am Jehovah, when I open your graves and bring you up out of your graves, O my people. And I will put my spirit in you, and you shall live, and I will place you in your own land. Then you will know that I, Jehovah, have spoken and that I have performed it, declares Jehovah. The word of Jehovah came again to me, saying, And you, Son of man, take one piece of wood, and write upon it, for Judah and for the children of Israel associated with him, then take another piece of wood, and write upon it, for Joseph, the piece of wood of Ephraim, and for all the house of Israel associated with him. And bring them together, one side to the other, into one piece of wood, that they may become united in your hand. And when the children of your people speak to you, saying, Will you not tell us what you mean by these? Say to them, Thus says the Lord Jehovah, I am about to take the piece of wood of Joseph, which is in the hand of Ephraim, and the tribes of Israel associated with him, and I will put them upon it, that is, the piece of wood of Judah, and make them one piece of wood, and they will be one in my hand. And the pieces of wood on which you write shall be in your hand before their eyes. And you shall say to them, Thus says the Lord Jehovah, I am about to take the children of Israel from among the nations, where they have gone, and I will gather them from all around and bring them into their own land. And I will make them one nation in the land upon the mountains of Israel, and one king will be king to all of them, and they will no longer be two nations, nor will they be divided into two kingdoms any more at all. They will not defile themselves any longer with their idols, or their detestable things, or any of their transgressions, but I will save them out of all their dwelling places, in which they have sinned, and I will cleanse them. Therefore they will be my people, and I will be their God. And my servant David will be king over them, and they all will have one shepherd. They will also walk in my ordinances and observe my statutes and do them. And they will dwell in the land that I have given to Jacob my servant, in which your fathers dwelt, and they will dwell in it, they, their children, and their children's children, forever. And David my servant will be their prince forever. I will also make a covenant of peace with them, it shall be an everlasting covenant with them. And I will set them there and multiply them, and I will set my sanctuary in their midst forever. And my tabernacle will be with them, and I will be their God, and they will be my people. Then the nations will know that I am Jehovah, who sanctifies Israel, when my sanctuary will be in their midst forever. Ezekiel Chapter 38. Then the word of Jehovah came to me, saying, Son of man, set your face toward Gog of the land of Magog, the prince of Rosh, Meshech, and Tubal, and prophesy against him. And say, Thus says the Lord Jehovah, Indeed I am against you, O Gog, prince of Rosh, Meshech, and Tubal. And I will turn you around and put hooks into your jaws, and I will bring you and all your army forth, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed in full armor, a great company with shield and buckler, all of them wielding swords. Persia, Cush, and Put with them, all of them with shield and helmet. Gomer and all its hordes, Beth Togarmah from the remotest parts of the north and all its hordes, many peoples with you. Get ready, indeed get yourself ready, you and all your company who have gathered to you, and become their guard. After many days you will be visited, in the last years you will come into the land which was brought back from the sword, and whose people were gathered from many peoples on the mountains of Israel, which have been a perpetual waste. Now they have been brought out from the peoples, and all of them dwell securely. And you will go up, coming like a storm, you will be like a cloud covering the land, you and all your hordes and many peoples with you. Thus says the Lord Jehovah, on that day things will come up in your heart, and you will devise an evil device. And you will say, I will go up to the land of unwalled villages, I will come upon those at rest, dwelling securely, all of them dwelling without walls, without bars or doors. To seize spoil and carry off plunder, to turn your hand against the once waste places, now inhabited, and against the people who are gathered out from the nations, who have acquired livestock and goods, who dwell at the middle of the earth. Sheba and Dedan and the merchants of Tarshish, with all their young lions, will say to you, Have you come to seize spoil? Have you assembled your company to carry off plunder, to carry away silver and gold, to take away livestock and goods, to seize great spoil? Therefore, Son of man, prophesy, and say to Gog, Thus says the Lord Jehovah, Surely on that day when my people Israel are dwelling securely, you will recognize it. And you will come from your place from the remotest parts of the north, you and many peoples with you, all of them riding upon horses, a great company and a mighty army. And you will come up against my people Israel, like a cloud to cover the land. In the last days I will bring you against my land so that the nations may know me, when I am sanctified through you, O Gog, before their eyes. Thus says the Lord Jehovah, Are you the one of whom I spoke in earlier times through my servants the prophets of Israel, who prophesied in those days for many years that I would bring you against them? And on that day, when Gog comes against the land of Israel, declares the Lord Jehovah, my wrath will come up in my nostrils. For in my jealousy and in my fiery wrath I have spoken, surely on that day there will be a great earthquake in the land of Israel. The fish of the sea, the birds of the sky, the beasts of the field, all the creeping things that creep upon the earth, and every human being on the surface of the earth will quake at my presence, and mountains will be thrown down, and slopes will slide, and every wall will fall to the ground. And I will call to all my mountains for a sword against him, declares the Lord Jehovah, every man's sword shall be against his brother. And I will enter into judgment with him with pestilence and with blood, and I will rain torrential rain and great hailstones, fire and brimstone, upon him and his hordes and the many peoples who are with him. And I will magnify myself and sanctify myself and make myself known in the sight of many nations, and they will know that I am Jehovah. Ezekiel Chapter 39. And you, son of man, prophesy against Gog and say, Thus says the Lord Jehovah, Indeed I am against you, O Gog, prince of Rosh, Meshech, and Tubal. And I will turn you around and drive you on and bring you up from the remotest parts of the north, and I will bring you upon the mountains of Israel. And I will strike your bow out of your left hand and make your arrows fall out of your right hand. You will fall upon the mountains of Israel, you, all your hordes, and the peoples with you. I will give you up as food to every kind of scavenging bird and to the beasts of the field. You will fall upon the open field, for I have spoken it, declares the Lord Jehovah. And I will send fire on Magog and on those who dwell securely in the isles, and they will know that I am Jehovah. And I will make known my holy name in the midst of my people Israel, and I will not allow my holy name to be profaned any more. Then the nations will know that I am Jehovah, the Holy One in Israel. Indeed it is coming and will take place, declares the Lord Jehovah. This is the day of which I have spoken. And the inhabitants of the cities of Israel will go out and set fire to the weapons and burn them, bucklers and shields, bows and arrows, and javelins and spears, and they will fuel fires with them for 7 years. They will not carry in wood from the field nor fell any from the forests, for they will fuel fires with the weapons. And they will spoil their spoilers and plunder their plunderers, declares the Lord Jehovah. And on that day I will give Gog a burial place in Israel, the valley of those who pass through, east of the sea, and it will stop those who pass through. And there they will bury Gog and all his multitude, and they will call it the valley of Hamon-Gog. And the house of Israel will spend 7 months burying them in order to cleanse the land. Indeed all the people of the land will bury them, and it will bring fame to them on the day that I am glorified, declares the Lord Jehovah. And they will set apart men for continual employment, who will pass through the land, and with those who pass through will come those who bury those who remain upon the surface of the land, to cleanse it. They will search up to the end of 7 months. And those who pass through the land will pass through, and when anyone sees a human bone, he will erect a marker by it, until those responsible for burials have buried it in the valley of Hamon-Gog. And Hamonah will also be the name of a city. So they will cleanse the land. And you, son of man, thus says the Lord Jehovah, speak to every kind of bird and to every beast of the field, assemble yourselves and come, gather yourselves from all around to my sacrifice which I sacrifice for you, a great sacrifice upon the mountains of Israel, so that you may eat flesh and drink blood. You shall eat the flesh of the mighty and drink the blood of the princes of the earth, as of rams, lambs and male goats, bulls, all of them fatlings of Bashan. And you shall eat fat until you are satisfied and drink blood until you are drunk, from my sacrifice which I have sacrificed for you. And you will be satisfied at my table with horses and chariots, with mighty men and with all the men of war, declares the Lord Jehovah. And I will establish my glory among the nations, and all the nations will see my judgment which I have executed and my hand which I have laid upon them. So the house of Israel will know that I am Jehovah their God from that day onward. And the nations will know that the house of Israel went into captivity for their iniquity because they trespassed against me, and I hid my face from them. So I gave them into the hand of their adversaries, and all of them fell by the sword. According to their uncleanness and according to their transgressions I dealt with them, and I hid my face from them. Therefore thus says the Lord Jehovah, now I will turn the captivity of Jacob and have mercy upon the whole house of Israel, and I will be jealous for my holy name. And they shall bear their disgrace and all their trespasses with which they have trespassed against me, when they shall dwell securely in their land, and no one will make them afraid. When I have brought them back from the peoples and gathered them out of their enemies' lands, I will be sanctified in them in the sight of many nations. And they will know that I am Jehovah their God because I brought them into captivity among the nations and have gathered them to their own land, and I will never again leave any of them there. And I will no longer hide my face from them, for I will have poured out my spirit upon the house of Israel, declares the Lord Jehovah.